Hey Olivia, hey. So excited to see you because I got to actually hug you, hold you, and have you listen to me for hours together in Orlando in person for the first time in 3 years, 2 weeks ago. And I am so thankful that you made the journey to come see me.
Oh, it's a journey that I would do a million times. That little visit with you and your family filled my bucket for the entire year. So excited to be back on here to talk about some pretty amazing things and continue riding the energy of us meeting in person. That was amazing.
I know, my gosh. I literally, like, I remember the moment I opened the door, I was obsessing about it for 2 days because I was like, oh my God, what if she doesn't like me? What if she like doesn't like the way I chew my food? I was telling my husband about it, Mr. Fritz, and they all thought I was crazy. You thought I was crazy too. But when you haven't met someone that means a lot, like my lady, your friendship means a lot to me, more than just a friendship. And so I was just like, I can't afford to lose this friendship. And this is the problem that we're also going to unpack here today. When we give power to things that are outside of us, just instead of just believing in the power of who we are and the things we attract into our lives too.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that, Archita. First of all, you're insane to
Yeah,
think that I wouldn't like you chewing your like what? Can we not?
I'm an
Can we
idiot, but
stop?
that's okay.
Can we not? But I think you bring up a incredible point, right? We tell ourselves these stories that make us crazy, that rob us of sleep, that rob us of, enjoying our present moment because we've concocted some crazy story in our heads that's not true.
No,
That's not true.
not true at all. Not true at all. So let's talk about some of the stories we had to unlearn and rewrite as we both have gone through transitions. We've spoken through one of my transitions as I left the first time when I left a company of 18 years. But you just recently made that decision of leaving the first corporate that you worked for after you made your very big transition of stepping out of the military or finishing your time at the military. So let's start unpacking the most recent career transition in leaving a corporate that you were with for almost a decade, um, right? And then stepping into a brand brave new world. So what has that been like? What did that process look like? And let's start with the first thing. What was the biggest story you had to rewrite for yourself in order to make the leap?
I mean, it's a good question. And we don't have enough time to go through the nitty gritty details of this. But I think you've had several transitions, and it's definitely fair to say that as a professional, I had one major transition, transitioning out of the military and into the civilian space. And then I worked for a medical device company the entire time after that. So I spent 11 years
Mm,
at this corporation. And I will tell you, in terms of my time at the corporation, 90% of it was good, 10% was complete trash, right?
mhm.
And you have to
You said that
remind
out loud.
yourself as
Can I just slap you for doing that? Because you 5 months ago would have not said that out loud. I am so proud of you for saying that out loud because we've got to also own our stories because not everything comes wrapped in a pretty little bow and that we it's okay to share that because it doesn't mean it was a bad little present just because there was a fly sitting on it, but the flies can sometimes be a nuisance that you just need to go tackle somewhere else. And I'm so glad you said that out loud. So
and if by flies you mean shitty managers, then yes.
whatever, or
But
people, or instances, whatever.
yeah, or people that just drive you crazy in general. I mean, one bad leader can really torch a good thing, right?
Hmm.
And so, to your point, I think there's some real fear in there, right? Yes, everybody, I suffer from fear too. I am not immune to it. I've just learned to work through it. But in that particular case, that you're talking about, Archita, there are things that I wouldn't have said out loud for fear that someone was listening and was going to use those words against me because they needed interpretation. And sometimes, you have these interactions with your coworkers or your superiors or whoever, and for whatever reason, they want to make trouble in your
Mhm.
life. Right. And so sometimes there's a real fear to speaking your truth, the whole truth, right? For fear of how people will use that to retaliate against you. And it's the reason why a lot of good people stay quiet, right? Why a lot of people that choose, putting my HR hat on, a lot of people that choose to exit any organization for whatever reason, you try to do an exit interview with them and they're like, hard pass, no thank you. Because they're like, look, I just want to go about my business. I feel no need to rehash the situation. I've already made a decision to go. But what happens is we don't get better if we don't
Mhm.
hear the ugly stuff, right?
Mhm.
And for even my old organization, right? Again, 90% of my experiences with the organization, absolutely fantastic, absolutely amazing human beings. Crazy work schedule, right? Definitely high intensity from a work perspective, but amazing humans. But I hesitated calling out the parts that weren't great. I
Mhm.
hesitated calling out the 10% of the suck for
Mhm.
fear that because we so enjoyed the cultural environment in this space, that people would be so offended that I dared to challenge these
Yeah.
bad spots in hopes of getting it better, that that would become the focus. Oh my god, how dare you say something bad about our culture, instead of the focus being like, oh, okay, the culture can get better, right? Like there are some problem spots, let's focus on those. So you're right, I wouldn't have said it because I was still in it. I was still in it.
I know, but I mean, it's so interesting, right? So again, it is a choice. It's always a choice. You can choose to say it while you're in it. You can choose to never say it, even after you leave it. You can choose to say it whenever it's irrelevant, and I guess that's not what I'm going after. But it's more recognizing that sure, there could have been a person or a situation that was the driving impetus to get us to start thinking about the transition, right? But if a culture allows for such characters or character narratives to play out and supports it, you will lose people that are doing great work. And through that, if we are really clear on what it is that we want, which gets shrouded very quickly in what we think we need to want, because that is what success looks like to win in that space alone. We can get so caught up into like, no, I think I need to want this thing because I want to prove that I am successful here. And especially when you are a first and only, the few, whatever it might be, it is such an easy little hamster wheel to just keep running on, because it's like, well, I want to prove myself that I can do this. And so when you do choose to speak up in those moments, be prepared that everyone will look the other way. This is just human nature. No one likes to be told their daughter or son is ugly, ever, ever, no matter what it is, right? Ever. And it's the same, like, and so the thing is, companies and leaders that make it, and I know this is a, like, people just throw this word around like it's a hello psychological safety, but I am like obsessed with this piece. When you truly create and understand as a leader what it means to create spaces and pockets of psychological safety for yourself, because trying to think like I thought this, I was an idiot. Like, I'm gonna go rah rah rah. I've highlighted a gap here. I'm gonna go help them change the culture. One of the podcast guests we had on here highlighted this on a post on LinkedIn just today, actually, this morning, about being the unofficial carrier of what the culture should be.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Right?
oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh. You're
Go,
hitting
go,
on
go.
something pretty spectacular here. Keep going.
Okay, so the thing is, like, we take on this torch because we're like, this is what it should be. Like, and in the beginning, everyone's like, clapping for you, high-fiving you. They're like, Archita, we want to hear more of it. Archita, speak up. Archita, let's go throw you up on the stage. Say more, do more. Until that point where it's like, girl, that torch that you're carrying, it's shining a light too bright in this room that has corners we do not want to illuminate because we have to tackle bigger things. That's when you start slowly being pushed off the stage. You start, or very not slowly, being shoved off the stage. And you've got to ask yourself, where do I want to take this torch? Is it in this place? Or is my time done? Because this is all they can handle of the light that I have to shine. And if you can not just reframe it, like truly freaking believe that, then anytime this happens, you are not caught into this, oh my gosh, I can't believe I stepped into another toxic workplace. You recognize that the light that you're going to shine in place A is 80%, place B is going to be 70%, and then you might find a place that is 8,000% because everybody else is holding up torches right next to you. And those are the spaces you either go create for yourself or you go find them.
Y- Everything you just said was brilliant. And I almost want to break it down and rewind it so the audience gets the full benefit of what you just said. What are we? We're at like minute 11 right now.
Yes.
If you guys rewind to back to minute 10:30 and listen to what Archita just said, because you just nailed something so important that it has literally taken me most of my adult life to wrap my head around. Archita, like you are nailing it. People don't like you shining a light on the dusty corners of wherever, whether it's socially with your friends and you're shining a light on crap relationships or their contribution to things that aren't going well in their life, or it's corporations that you've inserted yourself into that you're like, man, I really like it here, but it could be so much better if, right? And you shine a
Mhm.
light. People have a very low tolerance for that light being shined because of ego, because of perfectionism, because of misguided loyalty. Whatever the root cause is irrelevant. But the truth of the matter is, people don't like that. Right?
Mhm.
This whole idea of operating from a growth mindset, which is where you are, it's where I am too. Let's make this
Exactly.
thing better. Let's keep growing. Let's keep evolving. Not everybody has a growth mindset. There are a lot of us that have fixed mindsets where we're like, I don't like being challenged. I don't like being questioned. I don't like to fail. I don't like all of those very rigid things. And you have to
Mhm.
think these corporations, like we like to say, oh, X place is terrible. X place is just four walls and a roof. You know what makes
Mhm.
X place terrible? All the shitty humans that are
Exactly.
aligned in their shittiness in X place is what makes it horrible. And so, where you feel that resistance is because it's a very human resistant to shifting from being in a fixed mindset to a growth mindset because growth is painful. It's uncomfortable and we as humans, we don't like it. We don't like it,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And then there's a dark side to that as well where it's like, yes, go make things better even if there's an appetite to make things better. But like don't outshine me though,
Mhm.
right? Like your quest is fine as long as you're not doing better than I'm doing. You're not getting more advocacy than I'm getting. You're not getting more attention than I'm getting. And then it becomes almost this weird competition where people
Mhm.
want to push you off stage, not because of what you're saying, but because you're outshining them and they can't have that, right?
Mhm.
So it's
Mhm.
really back to this human resistance to evolution, to growth mindset, to being outshined by someone else that
Mhm.
is killing us in these corporations. Archita, it's
Mhm.
it's literally killing us. But I know I'm on a soapbox right now, so I will end by saying this. What you just said about knowing what you want and being focused on it is the solution to all of this. We are never going to fix corporations at their core, because we can't fix all gazillion people that inhabit said corporations. So the only thing that you can do is control yourself and where you choose to bless people with your light. You need to look at yourself
Yes,
as a gift.
yes. And
You
I mean,
are a gift, right?
yes, you hit the nail on the head with like control your sphere of influence, because this is the thing, and it has more power than you can even believe. I was that shitty manager. I am very open about this, because early in my career I was leading like the only way I knew to lead, which was all the white men before me, and probably after me. And I'm not saying all of them were bad, but some of them just led a certain way and it worked for them. I'm not in their bodies, it doesn't work for me. And I see this consistently in leaders, is that you have a chance to change, you have a chance to evolve, to identify how you can be a blessing versus a curse on every human life that you touch. And it can be a journey, but accelerate the dang journey. So if you're listening to two of us speak, I remember, like, just as I was leaving my first corporation, there was some feedback I got from different people, like, oh, you sound so bitter. And I'm like, it's because it hurts to you that you are not making the change. That's why I sound bitter to you, right? And this is my journey. So my friends who are listening right now, don't don't, as you're listening to this, don't evaluate it as like, oh, I can't believe she has changed her perspective. Clap for the individuals who talk about their process of change, because it's called growth. That means they are growing, my friend. Because if I was saying exactly and thinking exactly like I was 5 years ago, something is significantly wrong with my approach to showing up in this world. And the same
Yes.
goes for leaders listening in. You might be doing some of the shitty things right now that we have spoken through all of our different podcasts, episodes, etc. If you are getting feedback that you're not shining a light bright enough on your team, if you're hearing a team member tell you, I wish I could be get a chance to do more, don't look at them and say, wow, they're so full of themselves. Wow, I can't believe they're always like, speaking up and like raising their hand for things. Whoa, I can't believe they talk about what they have done, etc. Celebrate them. They have identified, they have figured out what it is that makes them shine their light bright. Help them by shining
Oh my
your
gosh.
light next to them.
Archita, you're nailing this. It's this narrative of, well, I'm not doing it, so you shouldn't do it. I'm sorry. Are we not two different humans? Like, just
Yes,
because you choose to stay quiet and not do anything, your experience may be very different from mine. I want you to share with everyone the LinkedIn message you got from that very crazy fellow that was telling you something about, your need to speak up. I literally wanted to roll a grenade into this guy's office. Don't worry, everyone, I did not. But it's like so typical. So Archita, please
oh my
please
god,
share.
yes. Can I actually read that? Because I feel like I need to read out a little bit of it. I'll not read all of it. And I will also say this. I sent this message like to you. I sent it to my sister, and my sister's like, that you don't need to respond, right? And I immediately wanted to respond, but I didn't respond for 2 weeks because I chose to wait. You sent me a few expletives and you were like, leave it. But this is what's interesting. And this has been the story of not just my life, but it literally brought to light the story of so many, and I'm going to say women of color, I'll tell you for real, that have either shared with me, or just women even have shared with me aspects of this that men have done for them over time. So imagine this. After you listen to this, imagine that if this person was my leader or my manager, and they were thinking this, how many opportunities I might have been passed on, how many opportunities I might have been, told, oh no, maybe in 5 years, maybe in 3 years, or how many opportunities they roll their eyes at me for, right? So think about this, like how we unknowingly, in an unbiased way, prepare yourself as I read this, do this. We do this sometimes when we're not leading from a true space of integrity, and we're leading from a huge, not just your bias or unconscious bias, you're not making an effort to get to know the people around you and learning how to serve them best, you know so this is what was written. And if this individual is listening, I do this, almost out of kindness too, because I want others to get better. Yeah, I know. Okay, not
Girl,
true.
we are not doing this out of kindness. We're doing this out
We
of
do.
public shaming so that you can be better. Because the fact that you thought about this, and then you chose to write it, and then you read it, and then you sent it. No, my love, this is not out of kindness. This is out of public shaming because you need to own your stupidity and be better. Anyways,
Fine.
continue.
Okay, so when we were in class together, so it's like, hey, Archita, every time I read your post, I think I should write this message, but then life gets in the way. When we were in class together, we did not have much contact. I can only imagine what you thought of me, but I most often thought of you in terms of attention seeker or in love with the sound of her own voice. It has only been in the last 2 to 3 years that I came to the assessment from a white, middle aged male point of view. Luckily for me, I have never been forced to look for attention or speak excessively in order to be taken seriously. I'm going to repeat that. Luckily for me, I have never been forced to look for attention or speak up in order to be taken seriously. I did not see at that time that your experience was most probably really different and that your choice of communication was maybe not entirely a choice, but a freaking, I'm saying freaking necessity. So just wanted to tell you that my new wisdom regrettably came too late for you to profit from, trying to become a bit smarter every day. So, friends,
Okay, hold on. There are so many things wrong here. First of all, your new thought process, you regret that it wasn't something that you, Archita, could profit from. I'm sorry. How condescending and rude that you think that I need you to profit from something because my own intelligence and my own experiences isn't enough to get me to where I want to go in life. I need you and your insights, right?
I
How
know,
how ridiculous.
I
I
know, but
mean, and
Olivia, you know the
that's just
crazy
like the
part
tip
is,
of the iceberg.
but this is the crazy part, and that's where, like, I honestly, the 3 weeks has given me a perspective of sorts, right? Where this is the real reality of every, and I mean it, every single person of color sitting in corporate rooms today, every single person of color, they have someone, their manager, their team member, their leader of the organization thinking this. And I am saying person of color because it's men, women, and non binary folks that are subjected to this. They have someone thinking this who do not believe that they look at certain behaviors and they're just like, wow. Because guess what? As he said, he has never needed to be taken seriously. Do you hear that's such an important piece to like take away with us. You could be a white woman and I could be a brown woman sitting in a room. You are going to be taken more seriously unless you have a very evolved set of people sitting around you. If you're the first time you're seeing someone, that's just like how our colonized minds work, you know. Now we have a choice to change that, and of course that power is completely in me, and I've learned to own that and lead with that. But we have people thinking this every single day. So I want everyone to actually do an experiment. Please step out of your office or whatever it is. Start in the next week, listen to how members on your team advocate and speak up for themselves. And then feel your feelings. We don't enjoy that. Feel your feelings and see how you're feeling when that person is raising their hand and being like, oh, I really wanted to share. I did this ABCDE. See where you're feeling what you're feeling. Is it like in your stomach? Is it in your chest? Is it in your mind? Or is it kind of non existent because you're like, girl, what the heck? Who gives a crap? Or like you tune, girl or guy, you tune them out. This is important because if you are not feeling a sense of joy every time a team member is advocating on their behalf, and a sense of what can I do to help them be louder, be seen, create opportunity, then my friend, you fall into the same bucket of this lovely little human, and you've
No,
got to do.
Archita, I agree with you. And I would say women in general, right? Immediately it's like we have to puff up our chests and do something special to be considered to be taken seriously. We do, right? And it's interesting, I think, just for a different perspective, I'm offering just a slightly different perspective here. I Over the course of my life, I've only really had one really kind of awful male leader. and it was
Mhm.
back in the military. One,
Mhm.
right? And he, at the time he was our executive officer. Anyone listening to this that served with me knows exactly who I'm talking about. He was a terrorist. Like
Mhm.
he literally terrorized the entire boat. Now, outside of that, all of my advocates in the civilian world have been white men. Just about.
Mhm.
Just about all of them. There's a handful of black men in there, but who I've had the most trouble with, other women in the workplace.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the
Other
tallest
women
poppy
in the
syndrome.
workplace.
Yes, the tallest poppy syndrome, right? Like, I mean, I felt the
Yes.
same. Everyone will keep saying, everyone says this, like it is. And again, but I will say this though, Olivia, is that yes, me too. I only ever had one manager who ultimately, like, we worked through it and we actually helped make him be a better manager too. Honestly, it was a man. Otherwise, all the other men have been honestly like additive to my life. But they had behaviors that I should not be mimicking. You see what I mean when I said the
No,
fact
no,
that
100%.
it
I
was,
agree with you, but I,
it was
I think that's an us thing, not a
that's
that. They
exactly
are
right.
being their authentic selves, right? It's
Exactly.
us that's like, oh, I should mimic this thing outside of myself in hopes that I will get the same result. What are you doing? No, we all have our own unique superpowers, right? We all were sent on this earth to accomplish some mission that we were given all the ingredients to be able to walk our path, right? We were given them from birth. They're in there, right?
Yeah.
These talents, these strengths, these superpowers, whatever you want to call it, because we have a specific purpose here. Our
Yeah.
counterparts, they have a specific purpose here too. So it's crazy to think for you to say, I need to be like, Billy Bob, or I need to be like Sarah, or I need to be like Archita, frankly, because I
Absolutely.
don't have the same mission that you do,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. But this is the, I'll tell you this though, this is the journey everyone will go through. You will have a point in your careers when you are constantly being sought out to for advice, or constantly being reached out to be like, hey, what do you think? And then you'll realize whether you have the damn title or not, you are a leader that people want to look up to, that people are watching. At that moment, you have a choice. Am I going to take the time to figure out what kind of a leader I want to be? Or am I going to, by default, just be the leader I need to be because this is what I have seen? And I'll tell you, a lot of people fall into the second bucket. And then it's later on, and I was one of them. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I did not even know I should go through this process. And it was not until um, I had a very candid conversation with my team where I was like, I can't show up being a leader. Like I went into default leader mode because there was multiple mergers and acquisitions happened. We came together, and I was like, crap, I've got to step up and now be a leader of this organization. How do I do it? Like boom, right? Like right away. But we have a choice in those moments. Like we don't have to be talking about it, publicizing it. Do the work to figure out what kind of a leader you want to be. And it's not about some pretty little slide. Like every leader I knew at one point in an organization had the world's prettiest slides about their leadership philosophy. That to me is garbage, because if you cannot really showcase what that ties to, what you're true, like how you're living it out, it's absolutely pointless. So it doesn't need to be a pretty little mission statement or any of that garbage. It's about how you're going to show up for your people to be that blessing you said, Olivia. And if you need help, seek it. There is no shame, because that's the other thing, because we see Billy Bob, Sarah, and others who are already on that leadership journey, and we're like, oh my god, they figured this out though. How did they figure it out? We don't realize that they may, maybe they didn't do the work, so they never figured it out. Or they had someone helping them on the journey, or they were able to, like, step into their own experiences to realize this is how I want to lead. But there's no shame in asking for help, because leadership, or no, not leadership, being a good leader is something you can freaking learn to be, you know.
Archita, so you're nailing, I have to interject because you're nailing some pretty important things here. First and foremost, I think leaders, I do believe that genuine leaders, especially strong leaders, have this innate leadership ability. You were born with it, right? And I want to start off this chat by saying it is an honor and privilege to lead people.
Yeah.
It is not a right. You don't
Oh,
deserve it. It doesn't come with a title. It is a honor and privilege to lead people. And
yeah.
if you don't love, I'm using a very strong word, the people that you are leading. Okay. Because when you're acting from a place of love, even if you have to terminate someone, even if you have to performance manage someone, it's coming from a place of love, of how can I realign you? This obviously is not a strength for you. It can't feel good to come to work every day and not be successful. I am releasing you with love to go find something that's going to work for you, right?
Mhm.
If you cannot love your people, you need to remove yourself from this leadership role immediately. Leadership,
Mhm.
the minute you step into a leadership position, it is now not about you. It is about your people. It is about your people, and it is about the fact that you now have, through your title, the ability to significantly impact the people's lives that you are entrusted in leading. And believe me, every interaction, every conversation, every task you give them is going to either have a positive or negative impact on their life. Okay.
Mhm.
So when you step into a role as a leader, it goes back to, even before you decide you want to be a leader, who are you and where are you going in this life? If you're not asking yourself those questions, who am I and what do I want to accomplish in this life? And then the second question that you need to answer for yourself is, what kind of leader do I want to be and what kind of legacy do I want to leave on this planet? If you don't answer those two questions, you're going to struggle here, because everything you're going to do is going to be dependent on your external environment, and it won't be authentic to you. You have to sit down, and when you say do the work, this is the work. Figuring out, who are you? What do you want to do? And what kind of impact do you want to have on this earth? And then treat people accordingly. Now, if your answer to that is something negative, like, I want to just make all the money in the world and I want to live in a good way, and there's nothing in there like, I want to help people, I want to develop people, I want to create more leaders, then you need to avoid leadership, my love. You need to go do some individual contributor type stuff. You need to stay away from people and just focus on you, because you cannot be an effective leader if you're only thinking about yourself. You just can't.
Yes, so two things there. I'm going to throw a very different perspective here. Okay. So, because we were talking about this before we hit record on here. So, two things. One, yes, if you are leading a group of people, without a doubt, even if you are not, as you said, title, no title, if people are coming to you and seeking you out, be responsible. Like, I think that's the key thing, is be responsible. That's very, very critical. Now, what does that mean? You mentioned something about, be obsessed about your people or love your people or whatever. Now, narcissistic leaders, in the form of love, start deciding that this is what is right for my people and I'm doing this out of love. That's problematic. Okay. Because
That's an
you're
interesting
so
thought.
obsessed with the fact that I am doing this from a place of, like, I hate the word love actually. Like, Love Actually, the movie. Uh, is that I look at it more as a responsibility, right? Because you don't need to come in and, because for me, love is something I give select few people. Okay. I don't just give away love for like love's sake, because I come from a culture too where, like, yeah, anyway, we'll talk about that another day. But so the thing is, it I care for them deeply. I do. I I am I feel, I'll be careful with this one, because this is also very toxic. If you say you feel responsible, because you don't, it's their choices that matter too. But the best thing I could say is be responsible, and then if you could do this for yourself every year as a leader of people, fire yourself every year and ask yourself, like, not like physically fire yourself, but say that I fired myself from this job. If I need to be rehired in this job today, what is it that I need to bring to the table to be the best leader for my team? And I didn't bring this idea up there. Mark Pritchard, who's the CMO of P&G. I hope I'm saying that one right. He's been the CMO for 32 years. Okay, that's insanity. 32 years, and you'd be like, "What the heck? Like, get some change in." But this is an exercise he does, and we need to do this, because this is the other perspective I would give. So, one, be responsible. Two, check in if you're turning into a narcissistic leader, where you suddenly start realizing and thinking that I know what's right for my team, which is garbage, because you don't always know what's right for your team. But then three, fire and rehire yourself. And the reason I say this three is because you change as a human being, you know, and you're going to change, and your team is going to change, and they're going to need. I noticed that, when my team, when I first hired the team, they were all just like graduates out of college or 2 years out of college with a job. But as they grew, they needed me to be a different leader for them. And if I had obsessed about like, this is who, yes, you can. I used to be obsessed about what is my legacy on earth. Okay, Olivia, I spent years on this stuff, and I still care about certain things that I want to accomplish in my life. And that's where the selfish bit comes in. If you're working for a corporation, be selfish, okay? Yes, care about your damn people. Like you have to, because it's your gosh darn responsibility to do it. But the reality is that the opportunities you're creating and the work that you're doing in name of your people, if it is not serving you, please get the heck out of there. Don't just stay there in the name of leadership, because it's, you're putting your people first or whatever it might be, right? So you have, because a lot of times I keep hearing this, but I love my team. Gosh, my team would really miss me. Gosh,
Oh
how
my god,
do
did
I?
you not say this to me? I'm making fun of you right now because I feel like you totally said this to me.
Yeah, we
This
both
very
did.
thing.
Think about
It
this.
was this very
We
thing.
both did. Because this is what happens during moments of transition. We hold on to every damn excuse that makes it feel easier. I wrote this yesterday on a LinkedIn post. Makes it easier to cry the familiar tears than to go and face our unknown fears. I felt I was so brilliant when I wrote this out. But
Archita, you're 100% correct. I just want to be super clear here, though. First things first, you have to take care of yourself. Because
yes,
if you're not in a good place, you're not going to be good for your team. Everything that you're feeling, whether you're feeling overworked, underused, underpaid, whatever, those feelings will trickle down to your team subconsciously. You won't even know you're doing it, but
yeah,
they will feel it. You have to take care of yourself first. So, absolutely don't stay someplace where you're being taken advantage of, where you're not being valued for your worth, where you don't have advocates, where people don't respect and allow you to shine your light. If you find yourself shrinking in a space, you really need to ask yourself, is it me and the stories that I'm telling myself why I'm shrinking? Or is there really some craziness happening in this place and I need to remove myself? That is a decision you need to make for you. Now, as far as your people are concerned, if you are a leader of people, you're responsible for them. Now, I want to be very clear though. You are not responsible for the output that their lives take on, right?
agree.
You are responsible for providing them equity of opportunity.
That's
We are
it.
traffickers of
Yes,
opportunity as
yes,
leaders. We are not the folks that is going to guarantee that they are successful. That is an individual thing. I will
yes.
present you with the opportunity to get to where you want to go. And oh, by the way, the opportunities are different by person. Notice I said equity, not equality of opportunity, because people are going to need different things based on what it is that they want. So if you're not asking your people questions to know exactly what it is that they want so that you can help provide them the opportunities to be successful on their mission, then you're doing something wrong. You need to hear from the individual what it is that they're trying to accomplish. And sometimes I act as a coach. I'm like, you're thinking too small. You're capable of so much more. You should
Yeah.
maybe want something bigger. But then I leave it to them. If they still stay with that small goal, fine. I'll help you. I'll help you on your path to accomplishing your small goal. But there are people that I push on. I'm like, you're capable of more. But at the end of the day, it is an individual responsibility to
100%.
ensure that you are okay, starting with ourselves, right?
100%. 100%. And to that last point of like, if people want to play small, that's on them. Like, you can't, there's this much, this is how far you can take them. But on the flip side, if you hear a leader say things like, well, you're not ready yet, like it's too more, if they give a timeline to when they believe what ready looks like, run. Don't try to fix it. I mean, I really am saying this. Run. Run so freaking fast that all these other opportunities come hit you in the face. Because I cannot tell you, when I decided to finally recognize how small I was playing when I wanted to live big, and how leaders were keeping me in a small little box. And I started running. I'd say I only started picking up the pace of my running probably in the last like 4 to 5 months. And in the last 3 weeks, I'm recognizing I'm literally like putting my hands out and I'm like, there's an opportunity, there's an opportunity, there's an opportunity. And opportunities are coming and they're like, here you go, here you go. And you feel like you can like pick it out, because you're recognizing that when you start recognizing how far you can go, and you hear this language, run, even run afraid, like literally run afraid, because that's what it's going to be. Run afraid, but run. And of course, when you're running, I'm trying to think about the word I want to use. When you're running, ensure that you're not running just for the sake of proving that you can run, you know
Oh, that's a good one.
because
That's a
that's something
good
we
one.
get, like we hold on to. We're like, oh, I can do this. Like, I'm just gonna go, 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 go. Let me see. Like, maybe it'll happen. Or you're running because you only know that's the only thing you know to do. Because somebody came to me recently and was like, I'm not enjoying. I just moved into this new job. I'm not enjoying it. I want to do this other thing. And I'm like, hold on, like, why? Because someone else is doing it and it seems like it's an interesting thing to do. Like, why do you
Oh, Archita,
you want to do it?
you're nailing this. I have to, I can't resist myself to
Say,
jump
say,
in here.
say, say.
This is because people are making decisions based on feelings and not based on what they're trying to accomplish. You're talking about running without a destination in mind. So they're just running. They're running blindfolded. They're sailing without a map. They're flying without, GPS. They're just moving because perhaps they're activators like us, maybe a little bit of that is happening. But if you don't have an end in mind, you're running aimlessly, and then you have no baseline to compare any opportunity
No,
against, right? Like,
no.
I almost want you to go backwards just a second. I know we're coming up on time here, but I want you to go backwards just a second, because you just transitioned into opening your own marketing firm. You're
Yeah.
killing the game. Okay, everybody, Archita is killing the game.
Jesus.
But at some point in time, you had a mentality shift after you left your old corporation, and then you left another corporation after that, and you were like, screw it, I'm going to do this for myself. You had no idea what doing it for yourself would actually mean, but you had a mission in mind that you were trying to accomplish. And this was just one of many paths to get you there. So, can you talk about how you started running first? Because I think that would be so valuable.
Yes, and Olivia, I'm going to do this for everybody listening in. I am literally going to make this whole resource available for free. It's called Empower Transitions. It is sitting in a Google Drive for the last 5 months, if you remember, Olivia, because I kept it there because I was not sure to share it. But this last 3 weeks, Olivia, I've been speaking to somebody on the daily about just this. When you decide to step away and walk away from whatever that thing is, I what I did was I didn't just go to say I didn't I wrote down every place I could run to, okay, or every place I could go step into. Right? I'm an engineer, so I had to map everything out. Everything is like spreadsheets or diagrams or whatever. But before I even did that, I said, what is it that I want? What does my ideal week look like? What are the things that are non-negotiable for me? So I did a self-assessment. That was like step one of the whole process. Self-assessment. Then I stepped into like, okay, this is what I want. Now, how do I go create opportunities that can help me realize what I want? And I'm telling you, like, I didn't do this because I have the luxury of a spouse that works, and I just want to like remove a lot of this stuff out of the equation, because sometimes people are like, oh yeah, but she has a spouse who can support her, so she can. No, like, yes, he can, but my income was also critical. Like, I had a lot of things stacked. I didn't have a visa. Like, a visa was needed to get in. I had a lot of things stacked against me. So even if you have whatever the heck it is stacked against you, you can make an informed decision, not for decision's sake, but rooted in what is going to get to you towards what it is you want your ideal life to look like. And I'm not saying it to be like woo woo, wah wah kind of nonsense. I'm going to share the framework because we are at time. I will send this, it'll be available in the show notes and everything else. But self assessment is step one on that journey, before you go to being like, oh, the next thing, oh, let me just go find another job, or oh, let me go, because people think sometimes when you jump into like working for yourself, for some people probably it is, it's like, okay, I don't want I'm going to be applying for jobs, and while I'm applying for it, I'm going to freelance, which is also okay. All right, I want to say this is also okay. To me, that was not the reason why I picked this. The easiest thing for me to have done at that point was to go find another job. And for me, that is for me. I'm not saying for anyone else, for me, because there are so many layoffs at the moment. But and I'll just say this because I don't think anybody even knows. The reason I was out of that last company was I was subject to a layoff. I was subject to a layoff. Okay, it's out there. Listen, and I'll share this story in great detail later on. So I was going through a lot of that, but at the same time, I got so crystal clear on what it is I want, and I can tell you, 6 months in, I am upholding that ideal work week like it is my north star, and it is the reason why I'm able to create the opportunities that I can for myself. So we're going to do that for others as well, empower transitions. But on that note, we've got to wrap up. This was fun. I really had fun talking about career transitions. You can hear my voice really heightens when I talk about things that I'm
I love
passionate
it.
about. But I think maybe we need to have a part two of this, because there's so much transition right now. People are experiencing either leaving toxic workplaces, either feeling like they've not been valued, or layoffs that are so real, and we need to talk about it.
100%. I think we do a part two of this transition. And you guys, the Empowered Transition program that Archita is going to make available for free, we are making these things for free because our mission is to free as many of you as possible. While we are trying to free our own selves, Archita is way closer to it than I am here. But as we are freeing ourselves from our own mental shackles, from our own self imposed prisons, we want to take as many people with us as humanly possible. So please check out those resources. Reach out to us if you have questions. Interact with us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, whatever your social media tool of choice. We want to hear from you because we are all going through some separate journeys right now. And together, we can really come together and form a community to ensure our continued success. So don't suffer in silence. Jump on, interact with us. You guys got this. Just get super clear on what it is that you want. You are unstoppable, and you have to believe that.
I love that. Thank you all. So good to see you, Miss Olivia.
So good to see you. Bye,
Take
everyone.
care. Bye.